Don't make a long-term decision based on a short-term feeling. A lot of times we end up making choices based on the emotion, the state we are currently in, where we are feeling at this moment in time. Not based on our long-term outcomes, based on what we're actually wanting to achieve, or any of these things. We base it on right here, right now, this feeling, this emotion. And, sometimes they feel insignificant, like, oh, I'll just have that bit of cake, that bit of ice cream, that, whatever the fuck it might be. Even down to things that are not ideal, but great, I'll have an extra slice of bread, I'll have all of those kinds of things because I'm craving. Like, how many people, myself included, get to the end of the day and I'm like, fuck, I am knackered. You know what would go down really well? Ice cream, or, a sandwich, a cheese toastie, things like that. When your willpower and motivation has dropped, when you're tired and the cravings amplify exponentially, when any of those things transpire. The reason why most people fail is when they get tired. When shit hits the fan and you've utilized all your willpower and you got nothing left for it. That's when a lot of people will hit the fuck it button, chuck it into the too hard basket. But don't make a long-term decision based on that. Then I'm going to quit. I'm going to give up. It's too hard. I'm tired. I'm sore. I'm suffering. No. Take a breath. Take a moment. And remember why you started this. Remember what drove you to do this in the first place. Because there had to be something. You didn't just start this on a random day and be like, oh, fuck it. Like, I'm going to completely upend my life and take on something new. No, there was a reason. There was a rhyme and a reason as to why you decided you needed to make a change. So don't let that short-term emotion of being tired or sore or uncomfortable or anything like that override the decision. And, I often think of it about kicking it down the line. And I use this on many, many things. And sometimes that kicking it down the line can be short term, sometimes it's long term. But I first came across this concept with purchases, for example. Do I really need that? So I'm like, yeah, I want that. That'd be great. So I'm like, well, I'll buy it tomorrow. And then you get to tomorrow and it's like, oh, but do I really need it? Okay, well, I'll kick it tomorrow. How many days in a row can you kick it down the line? Because if you really needed it, you get a day or two in and be like, no, I do. I really actually need that, so therefore I'm going to buy it. But the same can be said for food. The same can be said for any of the dopamine chasing choices. It's like, do I really want to partake in that? And I've used it before on myself. And like, as I said, my thing is discipline and follow through and long-term doing this. Like, I'm rapidly approaching the 300-day mark of not missing a day of this. But there are still days where I'm like, all right, I really, really fucking want a pizza. I want a pizza, and I want to drink a bottle of wine, and I want to have some ice cream afterwards, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, all right, well, you can have it tomorrow. And I give myself the permission that if that need is still this level, overwhelmingly need to have it tomorrow, then I'll use one of my 10 days to do that. But I allow myself 10 days off per 126 days. Just on the nutrition side, not on the exercise, not on any of that stuff, but just the nutrition side. And within that, it has to be planned. So it can't just be, well, fuck, I really want it today. I really, really want that today. No, it has to be a deliberate, planned out, thought out process. And it doesn't have to be going out. It doesn't have to be anything special. It can just be eating a pizza on the couch with my wife. But it has to be a clear, definitive decision. Not based on emotion, but based on the logic. So I give myself that out. I'm like, cool, if you still really want this and need this, you can have it tomorrow. Do you know how many times when tomorrow's rolled around I've actually had it? Fucking goose egg. Big, fat 0. Because every single time I get there and I'm like, that was just a feeling. That was just a craving. That was just a response to something else. It was just a reaction to being tired or a craving for a dopamine hit or things like that. I didn't actually really want it. And that's the separator. That's the difference. And you can kick it down the line. As I said, you can use different versions of this. You know, in phase 3, if you've been following along, you'll know that I decided to give up all the dopamine chasing things. From TV to social media, from anything that involves dopamine and chasing that quick fix dopamine chasing, to push into true satisfaction chasing, to doing things that actually bring joy and satisfaction long term, not just the chemical release in my brain. And it has been fucking horrendously difficult to do that. But again, some of the tips, the tricks I've used for that is because, you pick up your phone and you want to scroll. Like, it's just habitual as fuck. And especially because I still have social media on my phone, because I got to post, I got to do content creation, I got to do that. I need it for my job. It's still there. And so every time I'm about to scroll, I catch myself and I'm like, all right, go do something else for 5 to 10 minutes and then come back. And if you still feel you need to do it, then you can. Same thing. Usually if I can break the state that I'm in, I can shift that need, that want, that desire goes away. Most of the time, just the act of getting up and moving around will do that. But if it's really strong, I go do some exercise. And it just doesn't have to be anything intense, quick 20 bodyweight squats or some push-ups or, a dead hang or something like that. I just go shift my state. I change where I'm at or do some breathing to build, some willpower, do some parasympathetic nasal breathing to build up my willpower again because it shifts me out of fight or flight. Things like this to check where this need, desire, craving is coming from, to see if it's true or if it's just a temporary state. But so often we make decisions based on that state, not on what's best. And they can be down, as I said, to all those things that we know that don't serve us, that aren't what we truly want to do. From the junk food, from the alcohol, from social media to TV to all those kinds of things. And yeah, look, it's not the end of the world if you partake in that, but it becomes the tree that falls the way it leans. So if we let that slip once, it becomes more likely. We let it slip again, it becomes more likely. And the more frequently we partake in these things, the more frequently it becomes the habitual habit. Rather than choosing to chase greatness, rather than choosing to be the best version of ourselves, rather than choosing to continue to step forward into the best version of ourselves, we're choosing things that don't serve us. And as I stated at the start, it isn't fucking easy to make these choices, but God, is it important. God, does it make a fucking difference in your life when you can make those choices for the better, when you can make clear, definitive choices and you continue to choose the things that are going to serve you long term. You get so much greater satisfaction from it. And when you stop hitting that dopamine button like a cracked out monkey every time, hitting that release lever to get a dopamine hit, you'll find that a lot of your life gets better. So many areas of your life suddenly get better. You're not distracted all the time. You're not, a space cadet. You don't have as much brain fog. You're not constantly anxious or craving more. You're actually present and in the moment, and you can feel the true feelings deeper. You can feel joy and happiness and satisfaction on a deeper level. You can find joy and happiness in smaller moments because you're present and you're aware and you're conscious of that. You're not constantly chasing that next dopamine hit. And ones that are unrealistic in real life. Like, there is nothing in life that is going to give you the same level and quick release of dopamine like doom scrolling on social media. Nothing. Like, and that's how they get you. And that's part of the problem, that they get you on because, yeah, it is this constant, every time you flick and it changes it, you get a new release of dopamine. That's why it's built that way. You know, it used to be 30 minutes for a TV show. And then it got dropped down to a couple of minutes, and then it got dropped down to 30 seconds, and now they reckon it's like every 3 seconds we're looking for a new dopamine hit. You know, that's why they talk about when you're creating content that you have to have such a strong hook because you have 3 seconds to engage people. Because we're so overwhelmed and constantly bombarded with this stuff that hook at the beginning of a content has to be so strong to actually grab people's attention and actually break the cycle and actually get them to stop scrolling and stop chasing the next dopamine hit, that you have to have such a strong break in connection that they'll actually stop for a second and then obviously provide entertainment or value or intrigue of some description so that people will continue to watch your videos. But this is the game we're playing. But on the flip side, you see that people are also starting to realize that they want deeper connection. They want deeper attributes, which I think is the great trend. Like, you look at people like Rogan and stuff like that, who are now putting up 3-hour, 4-hour podcasts because people are going, no, I actually do want longer form content. I want to be engaged more. And that's a good step in the right direction. You know, so we need to start making these decisions about that. And as I keep coming back, don't make a long-term decision based on a short-term emotion. You know, yeah, it would be easier to watch TV. Yeah, it would be easier to doom scroll. Yeah, it would be easier to collapse onto the couch at the end of the day. That's a much easier way to live your life. It's much simpler. You know, it's much more convenient and comfortable, but it's not gonna bring you the change that you want in your life. And it's much easier to find the excuses and reasons why this can't be done than it is to actually step forward and take control and go, no, I am the one in control of my actions, my habits, my thoughts. I am the one in control of the choices that I make, instead of just being driven by the emotions and driven towards, you know, simple, quick fixes. And it's going to suck. I said to you yesterday, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I'm not going to, you know, bat around the bush. This shit is going to suck. It's going to be hard. When you give up something that you're so heavily addicted to like that, it is going to be rough. And as I said to you, like, that was my goal for this phase of 126. It still sucks. I don't know, nearly 50 days in, something like that. And it still fucking sucks. Every single day, I'm like, God, I want to do that. God, I have a craving to just scroll social media, to just watch TV, to just sedate and cut it out. But every time I deny that craving, I feel better. Every time I do that, I strengthen that resolve towards that. And as I said, I find greater joy in things that would seem small and insignificant. Like, my life feels more fulfilled and more driven and more focused from not being sucked into those things. And yeah, it is immensely taxing on my willpower. But it also feels like other things that are less taxing on my willpower have become so easy and simple to partake in, because I'm like, oh, well, you can handle this. Like, I am overriding that voice in my head, those desires, those impulses that are often so quick they're hard to catch, that it strengthens that muscle, that willpower muscle, every single day. Because, you know, Don't get me wrong, it is a massive shift to start working out every day. It's a massive shift to work out twice a day, do a weighted walk and a weighted workout every day. It's a massive shift to start eating on an animal-based diet. And they can be huge, huge shifts. But at the same point, you take one, like each workout takes one decision and then you start it. Like it takes that one moment. Whereas when you're trying to break the addiction on other things, I would actually put the animal-based diet in this category as well. When you're trying to break that addiction on the other things, you keep having those flashes. You keep having those moments of like, oh my God, I fucking need this. So you have to keep making the decision. You have to keep making the decision. You have to keep making the decision. It was the same like when I gave up caffeine. There was so many habitual moments. Just like, oh, I'm going to have a Monster. Oh, I'm going to have some caffeine. Oh, I'm going to have this. And they just kept coming, and they just kept coming, and they just kept coming. And I'm like, oh my God, I fucking need this so badly. And that was such a mental... Apologies on the interruption. Had some technical difficulties. But as I was saying, when I was giving up coffee, that whole thing, that level of addiction, but that was also habitual, was so supremely intense that required way more willpower than you would think on something like that. And there were moments where habitual things would override that. Like, get up in the morning and I'd have one with, my workout. And that would become my habit. And so I would go for it and I'd have the setup because we still had coffee in the house for my wife. And then I had remnants of it at my gym. And so there'd be things like that. Or when we go on trips and we go driving, I would stop at the petrol station and I would grab a Monster. To give up those habitual things, they just became second nature. And there were cravings, like especially the long drives, for that need of that. But you had to keep using the willpower. You had to keep overriding those. And it's the same for sugar. I have a guy in my group at the moment. He's in Chasing Greatness Daily. And he's like, this is killing me. Because he was so heavily addicted to sugar. And we've gone cold turkey. But he keeps battling through. And he keeps battling through. And as those withdrawals go through, we're breaking that addiction. And he's finding every single day that the momentum is building. And it's awe-inspiring to watch, and I can see him struggling. And in the discussions we have, he is fucking struggling. Like, it's really difficult. And yet what he does is he keeps showing up. He's not letting the emotions, he's not letting the feelings in that state dictate the long-term thing. Because he wants to change. He wants to make a difference. He wants to be a different man. He's got 4 kids. He wants to show up as a different father. And so, yeah, this is hard shit. We are not going to sugarcoat this. Breaking these addictions, and we are addicted in many different forms in these dopamine chasings. Breaking these addictions is difficult stuff. But you have to keep coming back to the long-term outcome. You need to think about future you. And future you is going to fucking thank you for making those decisions. You cannot let your life be dictated by the emotions in the short term to affect the long term. People who are successful in any field master this skill, that they choose long-term satisfaction, they choose long-term success over short-term gratification. They don't choose what I want, need, feel, desire right here in this moment. They go, what is going to deliver the outcome that I'm looking for long-term? What is going to change the game for me? What is going to do that? And you need to make those decisions. You need to make those choices. Not, I really need this. And there are, as I discussed in the beginning, there are many different formats and ways that you can take it so that you can set it up to have the option to keep kicking it down the line. It's never going to be perfect. You are going to have to use immense willpower, and you have to find ways to replenish the willpower or to trick your mind. It's the same as the 5-minute rule. Just fucking start. Just give yourself 5 minutes to start to overcome the resistance of doing something. It's the same in reverse. You feel like a craving that you don't want to do anymore. You're breaking a habit instead of building a new habit. You're breaking the old habit. So kick it down the line. Just break that momentum from it. Break the habit. Change that thing. And it comes down to state and things. There was There's a discussion on if you want to really shift where you're at, you need to break the habitual connection to it. So if your office or place that you're set up in is set up in a certain way, maybe it's your house or whatever, rearrange the furniture, set up things differently, change the associated state with that scenario and create a new one. Create something new. Create a different setup for yourself so that you can run at a different level, so that you can do things in a different manner, so it feels different, it looks different, it's set up differently, and you have a very different relationship with that scenario. It'll break the cognizant patterns that you have around those so that you can set up. Or you can attach, if you're attaching new habits to it, you attach to the back end of them. If you make a coffee every morning, cool. Now you attach your clothing to that and you set up in that way to set yourself apart so that you can have the best chance of breaking that cycle and becoming the man that you want. Do not let the emotions in the moment dictate the long-term outcome. This is going to be difficult. It is going to take planning. It is going to take undertaking a different approach. It's that old saying. The definition of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different outcome. What you're doing currently is clearly not working. If you are not happy with where your life is or your health or your fitness or whatever the fuck it might be, it's clearly not working. So take a different action. Take different actions. Change the setup. Change the scenario. Change the environment. Change how you're tackling this problem and go to something different. So if you're ready for that, if you're ready to make that decision, to stop making short-term choices based on emotion and start making long-term decisions based on where you want to be, shoot me a message. Let's get you into Chasing Greatness Daily. Let's begin that process. Let's get you into a group of guys who are undertaking it together, sharing their journey, doing it together. Have my support, have theirs, have the accountability. Undertake it in a different way so that you can make those changes. If you're ready for that, shoot me a message and let's get that happening. If you're not quite there yet, click the link in my bio, grab your top 10 tools to transform your mental toughness. And lastly, if you enjoyed this, if it spoke to you, if you found it interesting or fascinating, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. But most importantly, subscribe. It helps me, it helps you, it helps the algorithm. I'm here every single day. And the deal I'll make with you, if you hit that subscribe button, I'll be here every single day. I'll be sharing these lessons from my life, from my guys' life as we change them and we progress, chasing greatness. I will be here every single day to lead from the front. But I need you to be part of that. Hit the subscribe button because most people who are watching this aren't subscribed. And I'll be back again tomorrow. Until then.